Hi students, how are you all? I believe you are all safe and sound. And welcome back to the world of English. And in today's session, we are going to deal with a story that covers the conversation between a duck and the kangaroo. Furthermore, in the story, Duck seems impressed with the kangaroo's abilities and praises the kangaroo for it. Moreover, the reason for this is because the kangaroo can hop and visit various places. On the other hand, the duck finds its life boring as it has to stay in the pond forever. Duck makes a request to sit on the back of the kangaroo so it can visit places like Dee and Jelly Boy Lee. On this request, the kangaroo says that it would require some time to think as the duck is wet and may give body pain. Eventually, kangaroo agrees to give the ride. Finally, the duck sits on the back and visits the places it desired to go. Okay? So dear students, now let's have a gist of the poem The Duck and the Kangaroo. The duck and the kangaroo both were very good friends. As the duck lived in a pond and does not get any chance of visiting the world, so he wanted to have a pleasure tour all around the world. So he requested kangaroo to allow him to sit on the top of his tail and have a pleasure tour. The kangaroo accepted the wish, but at the same time put some conditions too. Now what is the condition? According to him, according to kangaroo, the duck's feet were unpleasantly wet and cold. This may cause wet rheumatism. At this, the duck assured him with the remedies he thought about. According to him, he has already bought 4 pairs of woolen socks to put on. Besides, he has bought a cloak to cover himself and he will smoke cigar too. In this way, both the duck and the kangaroo started their tour and continued their happy journey. Okay, I believe you have understood. So dear students, before we get into the poem, let's know a little bit about the author. Okay? The author of this poem is Edward Lear. He was a British artist, illustrator, author and poet, renowned today primarily for his literary nonsense in poetry and prose. In his childhood, he suffered from ill health. After a long decline in health, he died of heart disease. His principal areas of work as an artist were threefold. As a draughtsman, employed to illustrate birds and animals, making color drawing during his journeys. As an author, Lear is principally known for his popular nonsense works, rather than as a travel writer. These show a great ability to use with relish the sound of real and invented English words. The poem, The Duck and the Kangaroo, is a poem with a touch of light humor. Said the duck to the kangaroo, "Good gracious, how you hop over the fields and the water too, as if you never would stop. My life is a bore in this nasty pond, and I long to go out in the world beyond. I wish I could hop like you," said the duck to the kangaroo. So dear students, the meaning of nasty is unpleasant or bad. Okay, now the duck is awestruck. Okay, it is awestruck to see the kangaroo hopping over the fields and water. Okay, have you seen kangaroo hopping? How does it hop? Yes, very beautifully it jumps. So the duck wonders how the kangaroo hops. Okay, and the duck says its life is bored in the nasty pond. And the duck expresses its desire to go out into the world. Okay, it expresses its desire to hop like the kangaroo. Okay, Do you understand? The duck is abstract to see the movement of the kangaroo, and it expresses that the kangaroo could hop continuously over the fields and water bodies. The duck's life was boring as it remained in the pond all the time. So the duck wished to see the world beyond the limits of the pond. It wishes that it could also hop like the kangaroo. I believe it's clear, right? Please give me a ride on your back, said the duck to the kangaroo. I would sit quite still and say nothing but quack the whole of the long day through, and we would go to the Dee and the Jelly Bowly, over the land and over the sea. Please take me a ride, oh do, said the duck to the kangaroo. So, dear students, as a duck is, both being in the pond, it makes request to the kangaroo to take it for a ride, and it says it would sit quietly, say nothing but quack. Okay? The duck also lists the places that they would visit as a Dee and Jelly Bowly. Okay? It adds that they would hop over the land and the sea. Okay? Said the kangaroo to the duck. This requires some little reflection. Perhaps, on the whole, it might bring me luck. And there seems but one objection, which is, if you'll let me speak so bold. Your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold, and would probably give me the rheumatiz, said the kangaroo. So, dear students, at the request of the duck, the kangaroo replies. Okay, the kangaroo replied that it had it has to take some time to think it over. Okay, now what does it mean to think it over? Here, the kangaroo says it needs some time to think about the request of the duck. Now, what was the request of the duck? To go on around the world by sitting on the back of the kangaroo. Okay? So, the kangaroo is actually happy to take the duck to the pleasure tour, but okay, it says that duck's feet are unpleasantly wet and cold, and it may cause a kind of disease. Okay, the disease refers here as rheumatism. Do you understand? At the request of the duck, the kangaroo was ready to take the duck for the pleasure tour, but the kangaroo says it needs some time to think it over because the duck's feet are wet and cold and it may cause some pain to its body. Simple. Okay? Said the duck. As I sat on the rocks, I have thought over that completely, and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks which fit my web feet neatly. And to keep out the cold, I've bought a clock, and every day a cigar I'll smoke, all to follow my own dear true love of kangaroo. So the duck said that it sat on the rock during the day and it had a thought over it. So, in order to avoid this, the duck had bought 4 pairs of worsted socks which fitted its web shaped feet well. Okay, in order to stay warm, it would wear a strug and also smoke a cigar every day. The duck would do all to protect the kangaroo as it was a beloved or a best friend of the duck. Okay? Said the kangaroo, I am ready, all in the moonlight pale, but to balance me well, dear duck, sit steady and quiet at the end of my tail. So away they went with a hop and a bound, and they hopped the whole world 3 times round. And who so happy? Oh, who? As the duck and the kangaroo. So, The kangaroo was completely satisfied with the duck's response, and the kangaroo was ready to take the duck for ride. And the kangaroo says to the duck to sit quietly at the end of the tail. Okay, the kangaroo instructs the duck to sit steady at the end of its tail. Okay, so once the duck sat at the end of its tail, both of them tooted round the whole world 3 times. The kangaroo hopped and hopped 3 times the whole world, and both of them had enjoyed a lot. So, dear students, now let's see the central idea of the poem. Okay, so in the poem, The Duck and the Kangaroo, the poet tells us that we can get any difficult work done by others if we have the virtues of sweetness, politeness, and obedience. The duck requests Kangaroo to make her visit the beautiful world by allowing her to ride on his back. The kangaroo accepts her wish because of her sweetness and politeness. The kangaroo tells the duck about her wet and cold feet. At this, the duck buys 4 pairs of woolen socks and a cloak to cover herself. Besides, she assures the kangaroo that she would smoke cigar too. Thus, the kangaroo lets her ride on her tail, and they went for a pleasure tour to the world. Okay, do you understand?